Welcome back, dear listeners, to Recollections Recapped. My name is Monica and I'm your host. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about Catherine, the Princess of Wales, and her hospital stay, as well as the medical procedure that King Charles III will be undergoing very shortly. And if time allows, we will be discussing what potentially could happen tonight at the Ledgends, I believe it's Living Legends of Aviation Award with Prince Harry. So grab yourself a hot cup of tea and we'll get started. So in the last few days, there's been quite a bit of news coming out. Some of it is shocking news and other news is kind of news we've expected, and we're just kind of wondering about what's going to happen. So the first order of business, I believe, is going to be talking about Catherine, Princess of Wales, and her seemingly kind of emergency surgery. They did say it was a planned abdominal surgery, but what does planned necessarily mean? I mean, could she have had this planned for months and now she's finally having the surgery? Or is this more along the lines of, a couple days before she wasn't feeling well, she went to the doctors and they found something, so they planned it for the next day or, a couple days from now? It doesn't really specify what kind of planned it was, but I think the most important thing is that the surgery went well and she is recovering. It's so unfortunate that suddenly there are millions of doctors overnight, people speculating on what could potentially be the problem. I think it was a really good thing that the palace came out and said it was not cancerous, because that's kind of where my mind jumped. We've had in my family a few instances of cancer that have not ended well. So, that was kind of a initial fear of mine. So we're just very happy that it's not cancerous. But everybody has been just completely overwhelmed, I guess, trying to figure out what is going wrong with her. I know her detractors are saying that it's a cosmetic procedure, which I find hilarious, because these same type of people who are claiming like, oh, she's getting a cosmetic procedure, a tummy tuck, this, that, and the other, they're also the same people that, are constantly saying, your body, your choice. So if she was having a cosmetic procedure, what business is it of yours? I mean, it doesn't groove with me. Just because it's somebody you don't like doesn't mean that you can make it a negative. Because if it was Meghan having it, they would be 100%, you go girl, you do what makes you happy, what makes you confident, But if it's Catherine, oh, how disgusting, she's having cosmetic surgery. Now, I just want to say, authoritatively, I do not think that it is cosmetic. I think it is to do with her health. I could be wrong, but I don't think it has anything to do with cosmetic anything. I think she has probably maybe been suffering from something for quite a while, maybe. And that's why it was scheduled. I don't think she was rushed to the hospital. I think if she was, they would have had to have stated that it was an emergency. So I believe she's probably just been feeling maybe slightly unwell. Maybe certain foods have been irritating her and they finally figured out what it was. I'm hoping. And I'm hoping that, this is a procedure that helps her to feel better, because there really is nothing worse than feeling terrible internally. And then to have such a public facing job I can't imagine. It's got to be terrible. So I wish her nothing but the best. I hope that people respect her privacy. I actually didn't know this, but perusing Twitter, it was stated that when she was last hospitalized with, I can't even say it, with severe morning sickness. I don't know the term, because I don't know if you know this, but I'm just kind of sitting here on my chair talking. I don't really have notes. I'm just kind of mulling over things I've thought about. So I'm sorry if I don't have it. It's like hyper something. But for the sake of this, we'll talk about it as severe morning sickness. I do believe that when she was going through that, a prank call from a news station was able to convince a nurse or somebody like that to divulge private information on the Princess of Wales. And I think she later committed suicide, which is awful. Like she blamed herself, and maybe she was afraid that, she would lose her job. I don't know exactly the whole story behind it, but it was something that resulted in a tragedy. And so I hope that people respect her privacy. I mean, obviously, there's already such a huge hullabaloo about it. I believe the press is camped outside the hospital, and I think that's kind of disgusting, not just to get the photo, because that's what they're waiting for. They're waiting to get the photo. They're waiting to see somebody slip in to go see her. They're waiting for her to slip out of the hospital. They're waiting for something. And that's gross. But also, it's gross to have your people out there in the cold, I'm sure, because I don't know the temperature in England, but where I'm at, it's not freezing. We don't have snow on the ground. We are hitting, freezing every night, but it's not like the worst place on earth. I have a feeling that it's cold out there, and it's irritating to be standing out there. So it's just disgusting, one, to violate somebody's privacy, and two, to have your employees out there. I guess if you're freelance, you could do what you want, but I'm sure there's quite a few places that have their employees out there constantly. So I'm hoping that she just gets to be able to relax and recover in a stress-free environment, because I think a lot of this has to do with the stress that she has been under these last, when was Megxit announced? 2020? I mean, that's when things really started hitting the fan for her, I think, on a personal level, the personal attacks and everything. So honestly, I believe that she's been suffering through this, since 2018? 2016, 2018? I'm not entirely sure when Harry and Meghan started coming into the royal family, but she's been dealing with a lot of stress for a long time, and I think she just needs to be able to relax and recuperate in peace. One thing that has also really irritated me, though, about this whole situation is people are complaining about how much work she and William don't do. This is so frustrating to me, because I bet you a lot of these people have taken time to raise their families. They've made sacrifices, and I get it. I'm not a rich person, by any means. I am not a rich person at all. So if I don't have a job, I will starve. I will not have a place to live. It's like, I need to go to work. I don't have the luxury of, family to help me or anything like that. Like, I just have to go and do my job every day. So I understand. Just because somebody's rich doesn't mean that they can't take the time that they need. You have to make sacrifices. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of points for William that it's just not a pleasant thing to be doing. I mean, caring for anybody, even the sweetest person on earth, oh my gosh, it is so rough. Like, I'm not even the full-time caretaker for grandparents. And yet, boy, can it get so frustrating. So, if they need to be together as a family at this time, let them have that time. But it kind of feeds into this idea that William and Catherine aren't hard workers at all. Everybody always looks to see at the end of the year who has worked the most engagements. And of course, it's always Princess Anne. But, the King, the Queen, Princess Anne, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, they have a lot of engagements. But so do Catherine and William. And I think a lot of the stuff they do is behind the scenes. I hardly imagine that they are just laying at home playing video games all day. Like, it's not like that at all. I think they have a lot of things to be doing, a lot of things probably to be learning. I mean, I'm sure William is trying to learn about constitutional things. When Queen Elizabeth got in line for the throne, I mean, her family, she was so well versed in the Constitution and everything like that. Like, she worked hard at it. And so I'm assuming William is also doing things like that, as well as Catherine. Like, they have to be well prepared. And I think, especially for Catherine, she's a person who has always wanted to do the job right. I think she understands that everything she says, everything she does, everything she wears, every look she gives is going to be taken down and recorded in history. She cannot make any mistakes. Can you imagine? Like, sure, we all have our jobs and we all want to do our jobs right, but when we make mistakes, sure, we might get called out in front of our coworkers, our boss, the entire company, maybe the customer. But can you imagine if you were called out in front of the entire world for all of history? That's rough. And so for her to take her time to learn how to do everything, to do it the right way, I think that is the most professional thing that she could be doing. And additionally, they're raising 3 kids, and she is trying, I believe, and William as well. I believe they're both trying to raise them to understand that everything they do, everything they say, everything they wear is going to be recorded forever. And they want their children to be the best possible people they can be. Even if it was for the only reason of how it looks to the world, they want them to be the best that they can be. And so to take that time, be with their families, to raise them, to educate them, to teach them the values that they want their children to have, go for it. Take all the time you need, because I think, and it's by no fault of their own, Charles had a tough job because he was already the Prince of Wales when he had children, and Elizabeth, she became queen when Charles and Anne were very little. I don't think they got to spend as much time with their children as they would have liked. And so I think that they are willing to take on more roles. Well, Queen Elizabeth has passed at this point, but I think that they were willing to take on more roles and to carry on the burden so that William can raise his family the way that he would like to. And I think that's exactly what every family does, wouldn't you say? I mean, how many times do grandparents help raise grandkids because their parents need help? This is what's going on. The grandparents, Charles is helping William by continuing on with all these roles that he has to continue on. Going to all these engagements, Camilla's helping, the Edinburghs are helping because their children are already in college or getting ready to go to college pretty soon here. So, let them be. Let them raise their kids the way they want to. Let them spend time with them. Let them have that time, because they could go so far askew. I mean, one only has to look at Prince Andrew. I'm sure he might have turned out very different had the Queen been able to spend much more time with him and to be able to discipline him when she saw him behaving out of line. I think a lot of that has just been because she was so busy mothering the nation that she didn't have as much time as she would have wanted to mother her children. And so if William wants that, they should give it to him. Because one day soon enough, he is going to be out there doing 300, 400 events all the time. And so I think that's just my take. Let them take all the time they need now that their children are young, because I think the dividends will pay off when George, Charlotte, and Louis are well-adjusted young men and women, and they're people that the crown can be proud of. I think that they kind of look at other royal family members, even throughout history, and they want to avoid that in their own children because they love them and they want their children to have the greatest possible foundation. So go ahead, raise your kids, spend time with them, do what you need to do, because the job is going to be here, whether they like it or not. When those kids are grown up, the job's going to be there. When King Charles is gone, the job's going to be there. They will be doing their jobs soon enough. Let them have this time for themselves. Another interesting thing that came out was, of course, King Charles's corrective procedure, I believe is what they refer to it as, for his enlarged prostate. I personally believe that was a bit too much information. I mean, I'm not queasy in any capacity. I mean, I understand it happens. It's very common. I believe they said a lot of men, gosh, I can't remember the number, so I'm not going to throw out a number because I'd be lying. But a lot of men have this issue, and especially around King Charles's age range. So the fact that he's talking about it, maybe it'll encourage some other men to go out and say, hey, maybe I should go see the doctor about this, because if the king has it, well, I have it too. And I have what the king has. Maybe it'll be an encouragement to some older gentlemen out there who maybe very uncomfortable, to say the least. Hopefully they get the help that they need. So I don't think it's necessarily wrong that we know. I always like to imagine that there's a veil that we don't get to see behind, and, the king's prostate would be something that I'd like behind the veil. But again, I'm not knocking him. I think it was appropriate that he talked about it, and now people understand. And I hope people give him the respect he needs while he's recovering from that, because I actually don't know what it entails, but, I've heard colonoscopies are terrible, and in my mind, it's kind of similar. No, I don't know. You'll have to let me know, because I know nothing about the medical field. So I am just wishing King Charles the best of luck in his procedure, and I hope he gets relief. And I hope a lot of men out there who haven't been to the doctor and maybe should be decide to go and see their doctor and just get things taken care of so that they live a more comfortable life. And I think the next topic is going to be counselors of state, because the king is going to be incapacitated. This was a huge issue with Harry. That's why they wanted to keep Frogmore Cottage, was because to be counselor of state, you need to have a residence in the United Kingdom. And I don't know. I don't think this is as big of an issue as people are making it out to be, because although William is going to be out of commission helping Catherine, if some emergency of state happened, I'm sure that Catherine's going to be in great hands either at the hospital or at home with her parents. I mean, I'm 100% sure that Carol and Michael Middleton are going to be there all the time. She's got her brother and sister-in-law, her sister-in-law. Yeah, James is married. So yeah, her brother and sister-in-law, and then her sister and brother-in-law. I'm sure she's going to have a lot of help. So if there was an emergency, I have no doubt that William would be willing to give his in-laws a call and say, hey, could you come be with Catherine? I need to go do this. It's not that big of a deal, but a lot of news, well, of course, they're the news. They're trying to sell papers. They were very concerned about what's going to happen. Will Harry be called in? No, it's never going to happen, I don't think. I could be wrong. And I'm just saying that because I don't want it to come back and bite me in the butt, because things usually do. But like I said, I don't think it's going to happen. He's not even in the UK, as far as we know. William would be willing to step up and do what he needed to do. Andrew, that's a no-go, because people would be so outraged. So then it's Princess Anne and Prince Edward. The kingdom is in good hands. And I don't believe that this procedure is something that's going to be catastrophic. It's not like a procedure like Catherine had. He's not going to be in the hospital for a week, 2 weeks, and then have, several month recovery. This is hopefully going to be a couple of hours, kind of an in and out thing, and maybe a couple days to rest. But I think he's going to be in charge of all his mental faculties, right? So I don't know why it's been such a huge story, but the kingdom's going to be in good hands, because William, as a counselor of state, even though he's going to be with Catherine, if something happens, he's going to be there. He will, I can guarantee you. And then Princess Anne and Prince Edward have phenomenal characters. So I think everything's going to be just fine while the king is incapacitated. Now, since today is January 19th, I think we all know by now that it is the Living Legends of Aviation Award Gala ceremony, whatever it is. That's going to be tonight in Hollywood, I guess. And so everybody got their panties in a little twist, because Harry, of course, was nominated. And I do have from the Mercury News an article pulled up, a couple of quotes that I just agree with wholeheartedly. So let me just go ahead and get these out of the way so we can talk about them. After Harry's award was announced earlier this month, 2 former senior officers in the British military hit out at the idea that his piloting skills were remarkable. Admiral Lord Alan West, Britain's former Chief of Naval Staff, told the Daily Mail that Harry is not a living legend of aviation. To suggest he is pathetic, continued West, who also served during the Falklands War and who oversaw the Royal Navy and Royal Marines when UK forces assisted US operations in the invasion of Iraq. He didn't carry off any great exciting feat of amazing flying skill while flying it for the Army, West said. They're just trying to get publicity. They know it will cause a stir. I find the whole thing really rather pathetic. Retired Army Colonel Richard Kemp, who was Britain's commander in Afghanistan in 2003, derided the event as celebrities massaging each other's egos. While he commended Harry for volunteering to be deployed to a war zone, he agreed with West that the Royals military service, wasn't extraordinary. He was a gunner in an Apache helicopter in Afghanistan, but so were many, many other people. Kemp told The Sun, "I can think of many people who did pretty extraordinary things while serving the British and American armed forces, which would be much more deserving of an award like this." Now, right off the bat, I agree wholeheartedly. I think that this is just a ploy for celebrities to get together, dress up, give to charity, because, it's always great PR. And again, like he said, massage each other's egos. That's basically what every award is, kind of. I don't know. I've never been one for awards. I've never been into watching award shows or receiving awards. There's been a couple times when I've had to go and receive an award, and I just really hate it. I don't like it at all, because if you know that you're doing a good job, that's all that really matters. If you have a good television show, it doesn't matter if you win an Emmy or not. If it's good, it's going to show. People are going to watch it. People are going to care about it. So I know it's the prestige and it's important to people, but awards in general, I'm just not a huge fan of, especially when it's something like this. I get it. It's for charity. They want to encourage the next generation of kids to get into aviation, which is great. But this whole scheme is basically just for publicity. I'm sure Meghan has been dying to get out onto a red carpet, to attend a gala, to wear a beautiful dress, maybe, if she gets it right this time. Well, I guess I can't say that. The dresses are probably very beautiful. They just, I don't think, match the occasion that she wears them to, and I think that they definitely need some more tailoring, a little bit better fitting, maybe even just a completely different design, but I'm sure that the dresses that she's chosen would look beautiful if they were worn in the manner that they should be, in the way that they were designed to be, So she's probably also wanting to get up and speak. She does have a tendency to enjoy that. Getting up, speaking, giving speeches, talking about her husband, this one, H, has, whatever other nickname she has for him except for his name. So I do believe she really wants to attend this despite all the backlash, because she just wants to get out there. She wants to be a fashion icon like Catherine. So I think they're just in a little bit of a hard place right now, because if they do go, they're going to get shredded over it. If they don't go, they're going to get shredded over it. Because if they don't go, people are going to say, oh, they're cowards. They don't want to face the crowds, the media, after they've been decimated over this, to be quite honest. So they really can't win. Since you can't win, you might as well just do what you want. You should just wear whatever gaudy dress you want to wear. Wear your hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of jewelry and enjoy yourself. Because nobody's going to like it either way. Some people have been suggesting that she's going to try to dress like Princess Diana or act like Princess Diana, maybe, seeing as John Travolta is going to be at the award or maybe giving the award. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't fully understand his capacity in this situation. But as we all know, Diana danced with John Travolta in the past, and she wore that really beautiful black gown. It was kind of off the shoulders, I think. And so some people have suggested that she's going to try to recreate that with John Travolta. So we'll see. We'll see how that happens. I don't know. What color do you think she's going to be wearing? I would surmise that she's going to go for silver, because she already did gold. But you never know. I'm just kidding. She seems to be trying to get into that influencer kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to call it sleek. I guess it's like a sleek style of monochrome outfits. I know that that's been her style for the longest time. While she was in the royal family, after she was in the royal family, she really kind of likes that monochrome look. I think she thinks that it makes her look wealthy and super chic, but I don't know. It just kind of makes her look like an influencer. And the fact that a lot of these influencers have like, I don't want to say the perfect body because, every body is perfect in its own way, but aesthetically, their bodies are a certain way, and so these clothes fit amazing. And if they don't, they usually get them tailored, and that's one thing that Megan just doesn't really seem to like. So it doesn't really work well for her. I think that she should just find what she likes that looks good on her, because there are so many things I would love to wear, but they don't look right on my body because that's just not the body shape I have. So I think she would do herself a lot more favors if she were just to dress for where she's at. It's kind of like the York sisters. Their style is not the greatest, I would say. At least I don't personally like it. I think Beatrice has actually really grown in leaps and bounds in her fashion since she's married Edo. But for the longest time, they were viciously mocked for their fashion choices. And to this day, they're kind of rough, but they own it. So maybe that's what Meghan Markle's trying to do. Girl, just own your style, I guess. But we'll see what she ends up wearing. We'll see if they give a speech, if she ends up dancing with John Travolta or pulling another, look at me, I'm Princess Diana 2.0. We'll see. We'll see how they handle everything, because they generally don't handle any situation correctly. I don't know if it's going to bite them in the butt that they haven't released a statement about Charles and Catherine. I know there are news reports that Harry was rushing to be by his father's side and he was going to drop in to visit Catherine in her time of need, but I don't believe that. We'll see. I think that more than likely they are going to show up to tonight's award, and I don't know. I don't want to say hopefully, because that sounds terrible, but I'll just say it. Hopefully they kind of give us some cringy stuff that we can talk about, because honestly, I just think it's a great study in human behavior. Or maybe not human behavior, because sometimes I wonder, I'm like, what human would ever do that? So we'll see. We'll see how everything turns out tonight. We'll be updated in the future about Catherine and Charles, and hopefully the whole family is doing well. Hopefully they can all cope with probably the serious health issues that have been going on behind the scenes, and we'll see. We'll see where everything takes us. I still have not received my copy of, I think it's Robert Hardman's book about King Charles. So hopefully we get that soon, or at least we get some more releases on some information. I know I read something that another author was stating that the Queen probably died alone, and I didn't have a chance to read the article. So I'm going to try to look that up and read it and see what's being said there, and we can talk about anything else that comes up. I don't anticipate too much coming from the Waleses for quite a while. But there are several other royal family members, and of course there's always Harry and Meghan. And I am contemplating on doing more episodes like the Lilibet debacle, where we kind of go back in time and talk about some of the issues with Harry and Meghan. I think that time gives us a greater idea of what's happening. Like, we are able to look back. What is it? Hindsight is 2020. And so maybe looking back, we can kind of rehash some of these issues and look at it with a clearer view of what's happened since then, and maybe figure out, okay, yeah, that was probably what they were trying to do. Did it work? Did it not work? So hopefully there'll be a few more episodes coming out like that very soon. And I hope you all have a wonderful day, a wonderful night. Keep enjoying your tea, and if you're like me, keep Catherine and King Charles, please forgive me, keep Catherine, Princess of Wales, and King Charles III in your thoughts and prayers, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.